Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste and welcome everyone to Satsang today. Sadguru Sri Muji Baba ki Jai. Okay, let's go join.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. It's feeling a bit attacky at the moment, like sensitive to, like it's really close, that it's coming from me. All things I'm sure I've talked about before or mentioned, but that it's coming from me, even though I know it's not what I feel or think, but it's just like, why is this all so disturbing and so horrible? And so I'm feeling sad about that. Then it's like, well, then you must be crying and getting sad because you believe it, which I know I don't. But just why it feels it's coming from me and why it's so horrible, and maybe that's why I feel sad. Because it's been really peaceful recently. Just love and peaceful and spacious, and now just feels like horrible.
For sure.
Yes. Well, how do I know?
Well, how do you know? Since you ask.
It's just such a like wanting just for like it to stay that peaceful love space from everything, just in this here where we are, what is, and not to keep going into like some like a hellhole. And there's a fear of it, and then when it's actually happening, well, then there's something to fear because I'm obviously still weak to the mind. Sorry to start out like this.
No, fine, that's fine. No. So either opposite, if you hold on to, no? If you hold on to the idea that, oh, this is peace and this is the best thing, no? Then the mind set you up for failure already. Because you feel like you have to hold on to that state. Okay? And now you're saying, but it was so peaceful. Now it is not that. You see, but if you did not have those opposites, if you did not have those evaluative conclusions, you see, then you would not be troubling yourself so much, because what you're perceiving at the moment is not making you this upset. You see, it is what you're believing about it with all the baggage, and but it was all fine. Why did it go away? So when you try to meet life through the lens of time, through the lens of all of these things, then it seems impossible to deal with. So then what is it that we must do? What is it that we must do? And I feel like every week I have to come up with something new to say, because, or not new to say, but to say it in a different way. I mean, for all of you, not just you. But so many times, this notion of open and empty, this concept of open and empty, doesn't seem that clear. So somebody asked me maybe last week or something, so how to be open and empty. And I just felt, or I feel now at least, to say that attentive but not grasping. Just be attentive but not grasping is another way of saying open and empty. So you're not trying to withdraw your attention, you're not trying to do anything with it. You're not, just you being with normal attention. That is what I call pure perception. But you're not grasping at anything. You're not grasping. What are you not grasping at? What are you not grasping at? You're not grasping at meaning. You're not grasping at what this means in the narrative. Where am I now? Is it? I used to be there, now I'm here. So that is all you need to grasp to know all of that, isn't it? And when I say, how do you know that? Because I know this can only come from the mechanics of this false meaning making. And that is the mind. So most of you, or many of you, may hate this question. How do you know? But Father, I'm feeling the. How do you know? So, at least so far, nobody's told me intuitively. I resent you intuitively that I've not heard, at least so far. But you see, or I hate my life intuitively, or something like that. So I've not heard any of that so far. So that pointer is still working. So I'll keep using it till it works in this way. But just right now, be attentive, but don't grasp at anything. This is my live class, to practical class to check. Till every pointer works. I can say blah blah blah. Free attention, but not grasp. How's that? Maybe because attentive could have a sense of attentive at what, to what, no? Free
Yeah,
attention and not grasping.
it keeps, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's okay. Attentive. What you're saying is now. It's related to, yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, just free attention and not grasping. What could we be grasping at? Thoughts, meaning. What is this? What is happening? We feel it's very important to know where we are so that we can figure out where to go. But actually, all these tactics and plans are just leading us to a merry-go-round. So when we buy the invitation to the merry-go-round, which is the thought which is telling you this is what is happening to you, or even that this is what was happening to you, you're just getting on that merry-go-round. And you don't realize that getting on that merry-go-round, you're missing the greatest thing in this universe. You're missing the presence of God itself. And no peace, no joy, nothing phenomenally tasted is worth more than the presence of God. So you don't have to go begging for these morsels. You don't have to go begging for these morsels because the greatest treasure in the universe is already yours.
I don't want anything else, like any mind or any identification with it at all.
Yes. Do you want peace? Yes?
Yes, just
Forget about
no, just what is. Just
it.
true.
You want what is? You want truth? Forget about
I don't want it.
it.
Uh, just it to be that way always. Just how it is for you.
There's a lot. You see, I just want this. And in just want, you feel like, but that's all I want. I just want to be peaceful all the time, which is contrary to the design of life itself. Consciousness is itself designed life to have all the shades and contrasts and colors, everything. You say, I just want it to be this way, the way I want it. And that's all I want. What's wrong in that? Forget about it. Where's she go home? Bring the Italian mafiosos or something. What do you want? No?
so much analysis and evaluation, but to be in a untouched, peaceful space always, and never affected by any thoughts.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Throw this. I have garbage can in front of me now. Throw this. Just give it to me. Just leave it. It's like you're sitting on a chair and saying, I just want to sit on my chair. When will I sit on a chair? When I sat on the chair last week, I was just sitting on a chair. No? So, so this is solving non-existent problem. And this is what suffering looks like.
Example here. This dribbling mess.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. So this is the one that wants to keep something.
You don't have to conclude at all what is happening. You see, you may feel that the fruit of this conversation is that you will come up with a diagnosis about what is wrong with you. But that's not what I'm saying at all. This is not a doctor's visit. You see, so you go to the doctor and say, doctor, since 2 days I have these symptoms, my eyes are watering, and I'm feeling this heaviness in my heart, but actually a few days back it was very nice, very nice. So then the doctor says, oh, my child, it seems like you're suffering from a case of something. And then you feel like, oh, I'm suffering from a case of this. This is what I need to fix. See? But I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying fix. But you have a but.
Yeah, it seems this rather than just doing it, it's like talking about doing something rather than just doing it, like literally.
Not even this. Leave this. Keep exposing it as you're buying into an idea of what is happening or some evaluation. Just expose it.
Well, there's nothing now.
Okay, not even this. For everyone. You don't know your life situation or anything about yourself in that conceptual way.
Yeah, it tries to bring old why I was getting upset. Yeah.
So it'll try to use the spiritual way to evaluate what is happening. But even that we don't care about now.
There's a wanting here, maybe that like when it brings stuff, which it will, and try and get reactions, that none of it affects anymore. And if it does, then it just feels like a massive failure.
So you must leave this definitely. Like you cannot succeed or fail at this.
Because I'm not this thing that succeeds or fails. That's also within that realm of.
Yes, but are you just communicating using those words, or are you believing those words?
No, I'm communicating. Just
Good.
like maybe I'm confirming, not that I should need to, but sometimes a little reminding kind of shakes something. It feels it helps a bit to like, because you can end up like not knowing, hang on, what am I doing? Hang on a minute, kind
That's
of.
the thing. That's exactly what I want you to become comfortable with.
Huh.
If the mind will poke you and say, but what are you doing? What's happening with you? No idea. Can you become comfortable with this? What's happening with you right now? Where will you
Nothing.
go for the answer? Where can you go for the answer?
Who to stay here always.
Leave that, leave that. Because that is the creation of the hit me doll. When we were growing up, we used to have these blow up dolls which had punch me written on them. So then they would bounce up, you would punch them as kids and they would bounce right up. So when you say this is how I want it to be, or this is how I am, or you make any sort of conclusion in that way, that is just asking for trouble. Remember what Papaji said, to be happy, you don't need anything.
Don't have to investigate anything. Go
So,
back and know that. But
yes. I want to clarify for everyone that in satsang, when we say contemplate, or if we say investigate or notice, we are not talking about coming to any mental conclusions. We are talking about taking the contemplation to your intuition, just being intuitive about it. If you're not being mental, you're being intuitive. So don't mistake any sort of contemplation or inquiry or looking or investigation as if you have to do it with your head. And one final tip is that nothing in the universe is as serious as the mind makes it out to be. Nothing at all. Even our most terrifying concepts, even the most horrendous ideas, they're nothing. They're just ideas. You don't have to understand, you don't have to figure out, you don't have to do any cleanup, nothing.
Just for a moment, it comes when one's maybe unpleasant, and it comes past. So it's like a sensation and a thought. It all comes and goes. It comes and goes. But then there's also another voice like, you need to do something while it's coming and going. Remember to put your attention here. Do this.
Yes.
But then that also passes. That's with it too.
Which voice is that?
Mm.
And how will you determine whether it's your head or your heart? How will you determine?
Can check.
How will you check?
The heart's not saying anything. Like,
Yes, but how would you know that something being said is the heart or the head? Or some guidance or some recognition. How would you know?
oh, right now I'm not sure. I can't answer. Yeah.
So maybe what we should do is all of us should just make a poster out of this or something. Make a sketch pen, get a pen, and write this, because the mind will really attack this. It will really attack this. And when I say it, of course, you'll say, I've said it so often. So you know you're not being mental, then who you are is apparent to you. And what is the tool I've given you, or the device I've given you to check whether who you are is apparent to you? You can check whether you are aware now.
Yeah.
So if you check whether you are aware now, and it's apparent that you and awareness are not distinct, are not two, are not different, see? Then you're intuitive, and the entirety of life actually flows from there. Except it seems like it doesn't flow from there when we are believing our ideas and identifying with our limited thoughts about ourselves. So live intuitively. Then all the explorations, they become a joy. Then it is not freedom from pain. We're not running away from suffering and saying, okay, but who am I then? Who am I? Was I born? Was I born? You see, like this, it's not a tactic. Once you learn how to live intuitively, if a question is asked, which is about the truth, then that question, that contemplation becomes joyful. It is not a pain that I have to now investigate or inquire. In fact, you can only ask questions like, who am I? Were you born? Can this come and go? What is love? All of these questions you can only answer or recognize the answer, if not a verbal answer. You can only recognize intuitively. Yeah? So, tell me what you need to go to the head for. For what purpose would you want to go to the head? Logic. For example, what is logical? Yeah. Like, for example, like you cannot do programming from the heart. Try it? You tried. I cannot do. It obviously comes. The brain or the mind. It will come. The mind will come no matter what you're doing. It's not just whether you're programming or writing something on the computer. It will try to make a mark wherever. But if you try to do some programming without the head,
It's very easy to get into mind and get it done.
Yeah, it may seem easier. So it's good that you're noticing. So then play around with this a bit, experiment with this a bit. You have to write a function that does this. Can I do it without going to my head? So my feeling is, but you have to validate. But my feeling is that the one that can run the programming of this entire universe has no trouble writing some Python or Java or Django.
See, my brother is a surgeon here at Manipal,
Uh-huh.
kidney surgeon, and he says whenever he's facing the hardest
Yeah.
aspect of
Yeah.
an unpredictable
Yeah.
surgery, he doesn't know where the decision comes
Yes.
from.
Well, everyone has said this. See, all sportsmen, all scientists, everyone has said this, that they go into some sort of a zone where they don't have to think anymore. So what they are talking about as the zone is what I'm talking about as life.
Post that, whatever that, I will expect the best.
What is
Somebody
it?
is expecting. Mind is expecting.
Manager.
Mind.
Don't make your mind your manager. One manager is enough.
So, or you are in sports and what should they?
Yeah, that there is no guarantee of that. There is no guarantee of that. It is not, intuition is not, in fact, you cannot use it for personal benefit. So, what do you want to do for the non-existent one?
So I just to say it's still like there's someone here that's uncomfortable with thoughts as they pass by.
There is someone there. Let's catch this one. Where is that? Where? So there is being. Now, are you talking about being? Being is uncomfortable?
No.
Okay, so after being, who was born?
Mm.
Who takes birth after the being? Is there such a one? No. Colder.
They're just thoughts then.
Yes. I just thought then.
It's just starting to become like this, like when each one goes past it, then it feels like someone is affected by it, like someone's bothered by it.
Proposed by what? What is proposing that you have to fix this problem now?
The mind.
And you're going to follow.
Mm. Thank you.
Okay. Let me go to Dale first.
Hello, Father.
Hello, my dear.
It's been about a year, I think.
Acha.
I'm a teacher, so it's only during the summer holidays when I get a chance to
Yes.
on a Friday day.
Yeah. So, what subject do you teach the children?
Pardon?
What is the subject you teach?
Oh, physics.
Physics. Okay, that's nice. I used to love.
Yeah,
physics.
the school have had some very good results this year, so we're all after 2 years of COVID and teacher assessed grades. It's been lovely that the boys have had a chance to go and actually do exams and with themselves
I
on
don't
paper.
know, yeah, they will feel it's been lovely, but we have to do exams. But yes, I can imagine that versus Zoom classes, meeting them really in the physical world is.
Yeah, definitely with physics being in many ways.
Yes,
It was quite a challenge just doing it all online.
yes.
Okay, so I've got a few questions if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The last 3 days I've had lots of time to reflect on this because I've been painting the fence in the garden.
Uh-huh.
Quite a bit of that time I've been listening to your 2022 satsangs. And I
Nice.
think the thing that's been very powerful has been your prompts of saying to yourself, am I aware now?
Yeah.
And sort of sitting in that space and then making it more clear to see thoughts.
Yes.
So I found that very good. And I think one thing that's sort of occurred is that in the past, when I used to hear the phrase, don't believe your next thought,
Yeah.
that was a bit weird for me because, in my opinion, certainly there are many thoughts that prop up that are quite destructive.
Mhm.
It's fairly easy to not believe those when you think, well, clearly I was not in the wrong thinking this, that, and the other.
Yes.
The thing that a little bit of an insight that's come for me over the last few days is that it's not really that helpful believing what you think of as good or positive thoughts also,
Yes. Yes.
in that this was justified or that was justified, because there clearly are thoughts that crop up that do relate quite well to certain things that have happened in the phenomenal world.
Mhm.
So I don't know, if I go and play cricket with my team and I do a stupid shot and get bowled out for a duck, and I think, what a bloody idiot. I clearly didn't follow the trajectory of that ball.
Yeah.
That's true. I am being an idiot for not following the trajectory of that ball. So it's true in the sense of it relates to something in the phenomenal world. But the idea that has kind of just occurred is that when you say don't believe your next thought, thoughts in general, phenomenal world, and everything, the whole shebang, is not true. In that the only thing that's true is the place from which you observe everything. Kind of on the right track with that.
Okay, let's pause here for a moment. This is very good. I feel like we can start here. So the idea that there are some thoughts which can fairly accurately describe the state of the phenomenal world, you see, without even needing a negation of the entirety of phenomena. You see, so what I'm hearing is that you're saying that, of course, it's not true, because ultimately the entirety of phenomena we cannot, either from physics or from spirituality, or at least Vedanta, we can completely say that it is not how we are thinking it is. You see, but now let's explore something even subtler than that. Let's say that, okay, we are not negating the whole of the phenomenal perception. You see, we are just questioning a thought's ability to describe anything in phenomena accurately. You see, so I've often been doing this experiment saying, okay, so what is this?
Oh, you're asking me a question, sorry.
Yeah. So
I can perceive your hand.
You see, so you may say, I can perceive the hand. You may say that that is a very accurate phenomenal description. You see, another may say, oh, Ananta is blessing everyone. You see, another may say, he's just telling everyone to stop. You see, another may say, whatever. You see, and some may call it hand, some may call it something else. I don't know what everyone is perceiving anyway. But not even one moment of our phenomenal perception can be accurately represented in a thought pattern. So when you say, I missed the trajectory of the ball, and I was an idiot. You see, there's no way to actually confirm that. You see, I know you said it half in jest, but there's no way actually to confirm that. No? Maybe it was pure grace for the next batter who had to come, or the bowler needed really to take that wicket at that point of time. You see, so grace was making sure that his confidence or self-esteem got boosted or whatever. We're not going down that path, which is the rabbit hole, which I'm trying to avoid. But I'm just saying that we don't know. You see, we don't know even that, which seems like the most obvious thing. Without getting into any physics or metaphysics of any sort, without any negation of the phenomenal perception being perceived as accurately as it is or is not actually there, without even getting to any of that, we cannot actually take those determinations to be true because we don't know it for a fact. And I find us unable to determine even one moment of the taste of phenomena, you see, conceptually. Like I often say, what is this? So what is this? You may say that, oh, but I can say this is Satsang and there's a teacher and there are disciples. You see, but it does not accurately reflect this moment because there's so much light here, there's so much beauty here, there's so much other. So our thought version is like a cave drawing compared to the perception of what is perceived. You see, at best, not even that really. You see? So now the thing is that we may end up then saying that, okay, cave drawing or kindergarten book, coloring book, but at least it is something. It is better than nothing. You see? But examine that the alternative is no knowledge. Examine whether it is true that the alternative is no knowledge. You see? Whatever you needed to know in the experience of playing that cricket ball was already assimilated, you see, in the perception of it. The notion later that I'm such an idiot, you see, does not really help in any way. You see? Does not really help in any way. Just like I keep using this example over and over, I need to find a new one. But just like I don't have to determine that this is a glass and there is water in it, and then I need hydration and all of that. I don't need to know any of that, and yet the drinking of the water can happen. So in the perception, whatever intelligence needs to be conveyed is already there. So as we return to the innocence, and like Jesus said, only the children will enter the kingdom of heaven. This is the innocence that he's talking about. That even an infant child who just born can drink the mother's milk without having to understand this is mother, this is milk, I would need milk for nutrition and growth. All of that can happen. So, and we were just saying, in fact, that a friend here who was in Satsang, he said his brother is a very eminent kidney surgeon. You see? And he says that whenever the most difficult cases, you see, I don't know how to deal with them, but the answer comes from somewhere. So it is not, our life is not based on our conceptual determinations of what is going on. And in fact, our determinations are so off the mark. You see? And in fact, it is the physicists also who are confirming that so much. You see, saying that they are so off the mark. Because this is, according to the physicists, we are in a realm of probability. So in quantum physics, we can't really say there is a computer, there is something. We can just say there's a X probability that something is there or not. Anyway, that's not something that is my expertise. But really, what is the way in which we can determine? And more importantly, is there a need for us to determine? Is there not a natural intelligence which is already unfolding?
That's cool. So any thought occurring, even if it's occurring in the present moment by the mind, is very much a watered down perception of truth.
Yes.
And it's kind of just there to, I don't know, try and give the mind a way of attempting to understand what's going on. Because all I suppose all thoughts really are related around the senses.
Yes.
Because a lot of thought is language. Not all thought is language, though. Often thoughts are fleeting visual representations of something that often then, if it's something unpleasant, often then can result in emotional triggers, and then sometimes following on from that
Yes.
commentary.
Yes.
All of this is just a kind of smoke screen produced by.
So I'll make it easy, right? You just have to worry about the language thoughts. You don't have to be concerned, not really worry about them. I mean that in the scope of what we call the mind, you see, and Bhagavan has said the mind is a bundle of thoughts. You see? So if we localize it to just the thoughts in the language that we are accustomed to, you see, then that much is enough. Don't worry about what visuals come, some memory comes. You see what all of that is, and if some sensation comes along with that. You see? Now you'll notice that without the thought itself, you will not be able to make a causative relationship. You see, which is saying, okay, now this thought came of a bad fight I had with my partner a few years back, and then this sensation came, you see, because I remembered that thing. So then, just like the Yoga Vashisht, where the bird flies, it lands on the branch of the coconut tree, and the coconut falls. And the sages told us that it is the mind that makes the connective tissue between the two events. Actually, the cause of both is consciousness itself. You see, that is the way we snap out of time. Otherwise, we get stuck in the linearity of time, which will say, okay, this happened, then because of that, this happened, and then that happened, and then all of our life can seem like it is a linear flow, where actually it is not like that at all.
Another thing that's quite interesting is that at the moment, I very much have to. Every now and then, I'm reminded of that. I don't like calling it a technique, but I don't know what quite else to call it. But technique of saying to yourself internally, "Who am I?"
Yeah.
Then tends to put myself in this state where I'm more aware that thoughts are something that I'm observing.
Yeah.
And sort of, so that I don't identify whatever thought, whether it's a good thought or a bad thought. And like I said, over the last 3 days, I've had slightly longer extended periods of time.
Yes.
It feels as though I'm observing from this place without forgetting again and almost going back into identifying with form and phenomena.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure when I go back to school next week, I'm in a classroom environment and there's so many other things requiring my attention that I'm sort of going to be lost in phenomena. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. I love my job, so it's glorious, and the boys are wonderful. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a very different experience when you just sort of stood painting a fence. It's very easy to every now and then, this thing crop, because there's not really much. The mind's not doing much anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't even know whether it's the mind that triggers.
Yeah.
Say to yourself, "Who am I?" Even though I don't necessarily verbally say that. And then you think, cool, I'm back in this intuitive insight space, whatever that is. But I do think when I'm working and during a lesson, it's probably unlikely, from experience anyway, it's unlikely that this will occur to me. And maybe I've been thinking about some of these things on the train on the way into London and on the train on the way back. But kind of what's occurred between 8:30 and 4 o'clock, it's been, work as usual.
Yeah.
Not that's a bad thing, but that's just something that occurred to me, that what the experience that is currently happening here when I'm painting a fence, and almost like having the ability to experience this observing these thoughts from what feels like a detached space in a way, although that just
Okay, let me see if
that's wrong as well.
if we can simplify this a bit. So, you love your job, and what percentage of the time when you're taking a class where you feel like you're so involved in phenomena, how often have you suffered in those situations?
Quite a lot, I think, because I'm either working through the lesson or I'm taking questions or asking questions.
No, have you experienced suffering in those situations?
No.
No.
No, I'm not saying I'm experiencing suffering. It's just that
So just to make it simple, don't worry about it. Not at all. Just be a teacher like that. The world needs a teacher like that who loves to teach. It's completely fine. So that's a tip. So we don't have to fix something where we've never experienced suffering because of that. We don't have to explore. We don't have to worry. When we are full of enthusiasm and joy and full on with something, then that's it. There is no me actually operating there. Although the mind may come and say, but this is different from that. Like when you're painting the fence, mind will come and say, but that is so much like this, you see, and that is so much like that. You see, both are fine in the tasting of life. You see, it's not about being able to control attention or to perceive something differently in some way. It is just a question of what you're taking yourself to be. It's just a question of what you're believing yourself to be. Now, as a teacher, although your words may come out like as if you're a teacher, is there a lot of internal self-referencing going on as a teacher, like you're taking yourself to be a body mind?
No.
That's it.
So is that still intuitive?
Yes.
Acting through the body mind then?
Yes, fully. When you're full on, you're fully intuitive.
That's cool. There's a couple of other things. I'm sorry to use up.
No, this is good.
Because I only get chance once a year. I'm trying to get my screen time as much as possible. So the other thing I was thinking is, I remember the last time we had this discussion, and it was when I was asking you about the difference of saying, are you aware now? And can you stop being?
Yeah.
And so you were, because I think I was saying that I always thought the I am and the sense of being was it. And you were discussing that there's a place beyond that where even the being can be observed. I still think for me, when I say, are you aware now? Or can you stop being? It seems that it produces the same effect.
Yes.
And I'm wondering whether or not it feels like the baseline awareness rather than the baseline awareness observing an apparent being. Kind of feels like this, whichever one of those questions I ask myself, it feels like the same thing. I don't feel like I can, not that it's, again, that's not a problem. It's just,
yes, this is good.
You know what I mean? But it's not an issue. But to me, I don't feel like there's a difference between the two.
Yes. So, can you stop being? And are you aware now? They sound like the same question to you.
They seem to produce the same response.
Okay, let's try now. Try to stop being.
Yeah.
Don't be. Yes. Notice what you notice. And are you aware? Let's do this another way. So try to stop being. And have you stopped being? No. So that which is aware of this being, which is, your question is beautiful because it's very subtle, isn't it? So beingness is what I call primordial. It's at the cusp of phenomena and non-phenomena. You see, it's at the cusp. So it's, in India, it's called the primordial vibration, Om. You see, I am is called Om. So that primordial vibration, you see, is it phenomenal or is it non-phenomenal? It's a bit of both. Therefore, neither. So this being, when I say, can you stop being? Like I am. Then notice that this I is aware even of am. Another way I could ask this question is that if both were the same, then you would not be able to say that I woke up at 7:30 this morning. See, because what woke up? See, I woke up. We don't just say the world woke up. See? You say, I woke up.
Yeah.
I that woke up was the sense of being. And where does it rest? Within awareness itself. So it's beautiful contemplation. So you don't have to sort of make it like, oh, if I don't find this out, then I'm not fully free or something like that. Just the contemplation. I feel like it's so beautiful to.
Yeah. I think what you said to me last time, or what we were discussing, was the fact that conventional attention, when it searches inwards on itself, it can kind of get to the sense of being, but not go beyond that. So I've played with that a little bit. And when I do that, this sense, I tend to, it seems to produce this almost a form or empty space or some apparent, almost like a shadow version of myself.
Yes.
Kind of gets to that.
Yes.
But of course, I'm aware of that. So the closest I can get to the sense of there being a being is that.
Yeah. So one of the things that may be causing a bit of confusion is the production of effects. No? So let's examine whether when we ask something like, "Am I aware now?" You see, do we have a phenomenal effect that we have to observe and then confirm that I am aware?
No, it's very strange. It's very strange when you when you properly hear it. Of course, you can. If there's other things going on, and you said to me, "Are you aware now?" I go, "Oh yes." That's probably the mind just saying, "Yeah," because I've heard the question before. But in a situation like this, when you're properly attentive to the question, then you are taken to a very interesting place.
Yes. So let's all experiment with this. I feel like this is a cool one. So just keep your attention on this hand, you see, and look at the question, am I aware now? But don't change your attention at all. So that's experiment one. The confirmation will be apparent that even when attention is fully on the hand and the long nails, which I need to cut, then in spite of all of that, it's simple, effortless to answer, am I aware now? Now, do the other thing, keep your attention fully on this hand and try to stop being. Or let's use something else that doesn't have my hand, maybe the computer or whatever you see in front of you. Is there a difference? You will see that subtly the being is.
Yeah, it's interesting that
will be at play. Is it?
Being is
some effort, some attention, some movement of attention. And you will find that the perception starts to become a bit blurry. Whereas for the first question, with your entirety of your attention being on an objective seeing, it doesn't make a difference to that. But just to try to stop being or just notice your amness, you see, notice your beingness, you will see that little bit. That's why it's very subtle. So that is why I say that this being is on the cusp of phenomena and non-phenomena, but awareness is beyond. So before I am, it's completely beyond all phenomena, with therefore needing no attention at all. And for beingness, of course, everything that you perceive is being. That's a different conversation. You see, we are talking about noticing the central core of our beingness, which is experienced as a presence. You see? But of course, when we look, we notice that the presence actually never stops. That's a different experiment. But here, when we are talking about try to stop being, you notice that heart or whatever term you want to use for that, you see, which is the pulsating life core of your very existence, you see, which most experience in a localized way. And that is experienced in a localized way with our attention. Versus awareness is independent of even that play of attention. We're traversing some very subtle realms. And thank you for these questions.
Yeah.
Very
if the am I aware now really works, then you kind of, I don't need to do the can I stop being, that kind of doesn't, for some reason at the moment, doesn't work so well for me.
Yes. Now this mean we have to do something about that.
This what, sorry?
This mean we have to do something about that one.
Yeah.
Because if it starts like that for everyone, that I want to use this so that it becomes better for me, and I want to use this because this works better and this does not work so well, you see, for me. But in our investigation, we are noticing that this me itself is mythical. So how can we make these discoveries in service to the non-existent one? And this question can sort of pull the rug from under our feet in some way, because then we're just like, okay, it was going so well, you know, and I was figuring out what I can do and what works best for me. But now he's saying, which me?
Yeah.
Who? So that sort of brings us into some, because you're a physicist, some quantum.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, identifying. Yeah, there's identification going on with the 53-year-old male who's trying to work out the difference between these questions.
So empty of that. Empty of that. The truth is not here to serve the focus. And what will happen is that if we continue on that track, that's why I have to point it out pretty strongly, is that if it continues like that, then what will happen is that we make spiritual conclusions which will serve only the spiritual ego eventually. You see? So I want to pull the rug out of the ego, under the ego's feet immediately before there's any chance that gets built up.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. One very final question, if that's okay.
We continue on this one for just a moment, because then what will happen is then that, okay, so then the question will be, so, okay, now everything, all my spirituality was so that I could help this me. I wanted to make it better for me. I wanted to get freedom. I wanted this for me. Now he's saying, don't bother with the me. Then what am I supposed to do? Then what am I supposed to do? So open and empty, which means free attention with no grasping. Just, you can hold on to that. You can hold on to that. Without any judgment about whether this is working for me, not working for me, better for me, worse for me. And open and empty. I don't mean only open and empty can do it. Even if you're asking, am I aware now, or who am I? You see, it's completely fine. But then when you ask, who am I? And you come to an instant recognition of who you are, then notice that the mind loves to participate in this party and say, hey, this works really well for me. Okay? But that me was forgotten in that instant. It was not there. But it instantly makes a comeback and says, yeah, this is very good. Well done, Dale. This works really well for me, you know. So, so these conclusions you have to avoid buying into. So what happens to you when you ask this question versus this question versus that question? I don't know. Unless my heart is telling me, I don't know. See? You could ask me, okay, Ananta, you've been sharing satsang for so long now. Which pointing would work the best? I don't know. You see? You may then say, okay, which pointing do you feel would be helpful to me at this point? So then I would say, okay, intuitively, I feel something. You know, so there's a difference in the two things. See, one is to make a categorization of better and worse in our head, and the other is just to be moment to moment with our heart and say, I don't really know here, you see, but I'm happy to be headless and allow my heart to use this mouth in any way, or to use this instrument in any way to express. So sometimes I may say in satsang, what do you know when you know nothing? Is my highest pointing? Okay? Or don't believe your next thought is my highest point. Or everything I'm saying I could say is my highest point. So it's just how it is showing up in that moment in my heart. You see? And we don't even need to make conclusions about, okay, to the audience that needed to hear it, or those are nice conclusions and lead to some devotion and some reassurance that grace is taking care of everything. But I feel like we are mature enough at this point not to even need that reassurance to come. Just to trust, okay, my heart is using the mouth in this way, so we can trust that. You see? So what is the best pointing that works for you?
Am I aware now?
Yes, and if that came from the heart, that's fine. But just make sure it doesn't come from any evaluative tendency in the head.
Mm.
So otherwise, then it will become like a spiritual treadmill that we are running on, and we are trying to, when I ask myself, am I aware now? Then this happened. But when I ask, who am I? Then this happens. I feel that A is better than B, therefore A. You know? So can't be too mathematical about this. So what is the pointing that's best for you? Nobody knows. It is all dependent moment to moment. You see, all the seeding is there now. You see, all the seeding is there now, and allow your heart to grow the plants out of that seeding in the way that it wants. Don't conceptually predetermine that this is my game plan now. Yeah? This is my roadmap now. That can be a tough one because initially it may feel like it's so good I came up, because then I have now a game plan, a roadmap as to what to do, which will take me to ultimate satisfaction. But but that whole thing it could be just troublesome in the sense that what I'm introducing you to is the pathless path.
Mm.
So if you're able to determine that these are the steps that I need to take to climb the mountain, then we need to demolish the path and the mountain.
Mm. Yeah, there is this worry that part of me is probably part of the spiritual seeker is hoping that at some point in the future, I don't need to ask, am I aware now? To feel as though I'm.
Yes. Very good. Good you spot that. It's very good you spot that. So remember that leading the spiritual seeker, the future of the best spiritual seeker is the spiritual ego. You see, the future of the best spiritual seeker is the spiritual ego. Only the future of empty is freedom.
Mm.
And this has happened so often in satsang. I know every satsang that I know about actually, but here also in the last 10 years, so often that the pointings have been heard, the spiritual experiences have been had, but what that has led to in many cases has been a person who now seems to understand spirituality, see, and not the birth of a sage.
Mm.
See, so I'm trying to preempt any of that trouble before it happens. Because we don't want an expert on spirituality. The world has enough of those.
Mm.
Right? And we don't want somebody who just wants to use God to help themselves. So it is not about that. Just empty. What am I meant to do? It'll show up in my heart. You see, if I'm being headless. Now, if it seems like there is trouble going to the heart, then use the pointer. Use the pointer. Use am I aware now? See, remain where it is apparent who you are. Remain where it is apparent who you are. So this is very, very subtle. No? So on one hand, don't allow your mind to take hold of this journey. On the other hand, don't let your mind get a hold of and say, so Ananta said, don't attached to any pointer. You see? See? So that which is working, allow that to work. You see? Allow that to work. But don't make a thing out of it in your head. So the answer will be revealed to you when you are headless. But if the headless itself is trouble, then use the pointer that works to make you headless. It's a bit round and round. I'm well aware of that. It's just like if you read Be As You Are, then Bhagavan has told us very clearly that the only thing you need to do is be rid of all the faults, all the conditioning, all the ignorance. You see? Now the disciple says, okay, now you say often that is the only thing we need to do. Now what do I need to do that? The disciple asks, oh, what do we need to do that? And then Bhagavan says, what? It already is so. You see? It already is so. Then the questioning mind will say, then what was the need to say the first thing? No, it is very important to say the first thing because you need to do that. You see? How can I do that? You see, it is so. It is not something that the mind can grasp. In fact, the mind may hate this also and say, yeah, I was so clear, man. I was so clear till 5 minutes ago. And he had to go mix all of it up and make it all confusing. But but remember that the zone of clarity is the head, it's not the heart. You see, the zone where the opposite of clarity and confusion is the head. There is no confusion in the heart ever. So if your head is fully confused, then that is better maybe. Then if I left you to be with a clear conceptual plan about how you can make it.
Did you used to say conclusion, confusion?
Exactly.
A year or so ago. Because you think, I've got it. Oh, I haven't got it.
The conclusions of today are the confusions of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Conclusion, confusion.
Yeah. You were talking to a guy the other day, and it so resonated with me as well that he was. I was listening to it, so I couldn't really see. He was going right. Now this is it.
Yeah.
In his head, he's going, yeah, that's it. That's what I've got to do.
Yeah.
A few days later, no, this is it. And I've been doing that for years. Yeah, that's it. No, this bit of video, that's it. That's made the difference. And then a bit later, no, this is it. Then, so many times, dozens of times, I've gone, yeah, that's it. I think I've got it.
It's because we are used to that linear progress. No?
Yeah.
We're used to going from grade 1 to grade 2 to grade 3, level 1 to level 2 to level 3. So what happens is that it feels comforting to go from one branch to the other, or going from one step of the ladder to the next step. Now, when someone comes and says, no branch for you.
Yeah.
So this is, if there's an attempt from here, the attempt is to make the Sangha comfortable with having no branch. What is your spiritual practice? I don't know. I was telling a friend, either Naren or Arvind the other day, that when people ask me in social situations, so what is it that you do? You see? Then sometimes I say, if I feel comfortable, then I say, okay, I'm a spiritual teacher. Then when they say, so what do you teach? You don't know. Like, what do I teach? What do I teach? So don't allow yourself to be comfortable. So if I don't know what I'm teaching, then as students who are coming to me, then you definitely don't know what I'm teaching.
Yeah. That is true. It's you kind of know it's coming from the head, but there are certain family members who would straight away be, oh, what a load of mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
That would never admit to come into satsang because it's just not worth the hassle.
Yes. Same. I just it's a secret. No,
I've got some uncles, they would be going, oh, what a load of rubbish, and then I would never hear the end of it. Every gathering would bring it up.
To do a show,
they would start calling me Buddha or something.
What? They call you.
They would start calling me. My uncle Brian would say, "Oh, Buddha's in the room," and Oh, goodness. It's something I would never.
Oh, yes.
I don't see the point in mentioning it because that would poo-poo it, and there'd just be some silly comments for the rest of my life. So
let me tell you something. So if my mother calls me and it's 9:30 in the night, no? And I'm still sitting with the Sangha and sharing satsang, she's saying, "Are you still in satsang?" No, no, we finished some time ago. So this happens with everyone, because we just want the hassle of the judgment, saying, you're neglecting your family and you're all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Wonderful.
And so how many of us here in this room feel a bit like guilty to tell our parents and our family, Actually, so we can see that show of hands. And also, there was somebody who used to come here, who still comes actually, he may be in the Zoom. So his wife used to not mind him going to the pub, you see? But if he said he went to satsang, she would get more upset.
Superb. Very true. I've got a really good friend, and I think he saw that I commented on one Facebook group, and then we were going for a lovely walk in the woods, and then for the next 30 minutes he bent my ear talking about this Osho documentary, and it's all occult and this and that and the other.
Yes.
Thinking, it's just not worth trying. I tried to explain what it was and why I'm interested in consciousness and things, but I think he was quite blinkered, and it was something malicious.
Yeah. It is how most of our friends and family react to this, and actually at some level I appreciate their care, that at least they're concerned, they're worried whether we're joining some cult and what's going on. So it's fine. And before I got on all of this, I was an atheist. So if one of my friends said, I'm going to satsang where there's a strange man called Ananta who's saying all of this very absurd stuff, then I'd also tell him, be careful, I don't know, what is it you're doing?
Yeah.
I can understand. It's fine.
True. They say just don't give out your bank account details.
Yes, exactly. That's the golden rule. Okay, now somebody just before they'll go, just get his Swift number and everything.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask one very, very final one?
No, I don't mind.
Yeah. What it was is that up till about 2 weeks ago, I had a terrible sort of trapped nerve in the neck and the back. So like a physical pain that was fairly consistent for about 6 or 7 months. And I tried chiropractors and osteopaths at great expense, and nothing really worked. And obviously this is all observable, and you're aware that this is in the realm of phenomena and the body mind. But because it's so pervasive and it constantly grabs attention, it's very difficult to know what to do about it, and there's kind of nothing you can do about it. But it's obviously you can observe all the other things around you, and your attention can sometimes choose to go to this or go to that or go to the other. But when you get these very sharp pains, as soon as you move, and immediately floods attention, conscious attention is just on this thing, and whatever the hell pain is. And my wife's a doctor, and she says we don't really understand what the hell pain is, but whatever it is, it's kind of unpleasant. And even sort of observing it from a detached space, it's challenging. So I sort of remember over these 6 or 7 months trying to treat it as just another perception. And why is it that conscious attention is flooded so much with this? If I wasn't spiritual at all and I hadn't come to any satsangs or listened to anything, I'm pretty sure I would have been depressed as hell from it. And I wasn't.
Yes.
But it's still, here we are again with this horrible pain. And I struggled sleeping sometimes as well with it. So At some point, all of us are going to have physical pains, or may not have done in the past. And I just thought I'd mention that, because it's one part of perception that is not so easy to kind of shrug off. If it's there, it's there. It's there. These shooting pains very frequently.
Yes. Thank you. Another great question. I feel like these are very, very good questions, and the answer to this one is going to again be a little bit subtle. So let's see how the expression comes out. So everyone knows. I feel like everyone in spirituality, and most doctors also, I feel, will say that accepted pain feels easier to handle than pain which is resisted. Now, there's a trick in that, which is that we say, okay, I'm going to accept my pain so that then it can go away. You see? And actually, as you say that, for the last 6-7 months, I had this like pain in my shoulder. There will be shooting pain here. And it's much, much better now, where I can lift it easily till this point. But if I take it further, then there's a slight tinge of pain still. But so there's a Sangha child Ishana who really helped with the treatment of this, with some needles and things like this. But anyway, coming back to what you were saying, so we can't fool acceptance, Okay? Just like everyone knows that what we resist persists. So then I want the ego to go. So I will just not resist it. I will love it to death. But the to death part actually puts the resistance in the thing. They say, oh, I love my conditioning so much. I love my limitation so much. There's no problem. I love it. You see, but all of that would be fine and accepting, except that we don't do it with full integrity, because actually we're doing it so that it dies. So the acceptance of pain, because it has the tail of saying, okay, I'm accepting it so that it dies, then does not become a full acceptance. So that's something to notice as well. So if we can bring ourselves to be in the moment with it, without any outcomes of what that turns out to be, then that is, of course, that is like Master Bankai said, you see, all problems are perfectly resolved in the unborn. That is the one pill I have for all problems. Which, by the way, does not mean that we cannot get external treatment. I'm just talking about our inner attitude of openness.
Yeah.
Acceptance does not mean that, oh, if there's pain, then just accept it, and just. Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. From our inner openness, you can tell your children, or you can tell a doctor that this is what's happening. You see, that might emerge just very organically, and some treatment can be taken. And this is very important for everyone. So when we talk about acceptance, we're not talking about a particular position the body takes. It is inwardly not taking a position. See, I'm not saying, oh, you have a pain in your shoulder, just accept it, sit in Padmasana all day. You see? I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying inwardly be as open and as empty as possible. And that also includes that if your attention is fixated on something, let it be fixated on something. You see? Let it be fixated on something. What I'm sharing is all to do with identification and belief rather than where attention goes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good question. I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Lovely talking to you again.
We should make it a rule. We can talk. Everyone can talk once a year, because then all of your questions is very, very good.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Let me just quickly catch up with the chat as well. One question is, Father, what exactly do you mean? Just that itself, what exactly do I mean? Okay, let's progress. So, what exactly do you mean when you say, as consciousness, anything is possible? What exactly do you mean when you say as consciousness, anything is possible? I mean that all limitations are mental. See, all boundaries, all limitations are mental. Practice some Zen koans. Next one, Father, if awareness and truth is exactly the same, even when we believe our thoughts and go to our head, then why is it important to let go of our heads? That you have to say. That you have to say in a way that in the design of this game somewhere, God made an alarm clock for itself. See? God made an alarm clock for itself in the form of suffering. See? So it just designed the play so. And you see, it's not true, this explanation. It's just helpful to the intellect to take this question away. You see? So if this question has a bite, then just imagine it such that God designed this play so compellingly, so well, that even God got confused. You see? But the good thing is God realized that the play is so compelling that I could get confused. You see? So I need an alarm clock in this play. So I will design as part of the play this suffering, you see, in the human condition, so that when I take myself too much to be a human, then the suffering will happen, and I will start looking for the greater self, or the no self with no limitation, not the limited self. You see, so it is part of the design that the delusion part is enjoyed by consciousness, and the stepping out of delusion part is also enjoyed by consciousness in this way. Where in actuality, nothing has ever happened. But the movie is so compelling. Imagine you went to a movie that did not end. It just gives you some breaks. It's like deep sleep state. So it just did not end. So you wake up. The movie is so well designed that after a while you're just like, I am this. See? But as the director is projecting this movie, then the directors also made sure that God does not forget God's magnificence forever. Just playing with this in no time, actually, like this. But it's not the truth. It's not the truth. What I'm saying, there's nothing in reality has ever happened. Even that actually is not the truth. That is beyond all this is where we meet as one in our heart. So I hope the explanation does the job of deconstructing the question, which is the best that any explanation can do. And if I was going too fast, I know you very, very sweet and devoted boy. So you can watch the recording. You can watch the recording again. So next one says, Dear Anantaji, how to best detach and at the same time help my mother? Yes. She has had a burnout for years and got a brain bleeding in January this year. I have been with her every day since then, while at the same time managing her medical clinic. She's very emotionally unstable now, which makes it challenging sometimes to arrange practical things with her for her clinic and things that need to be done in her living situation and so on. Yes, it can seem a bit difficult, especially when someone very close to us is going through some of these things and mind attacks and emotional trauma and all of these things. But actually, I would say the best help we can give is when we are empty. But one thing I say before I say that too strongly is that in these situations, there will be times where the mind will attack you and it sort of feels contagious, as though the mind is contagious. So when it attacks and it feels true, don't beat yourself up over it. Be loving towards yourself as well. Don't beat yourself up over it. Don't say that Ananta said the best way I can help my mother is to be empty. That's fine. But that instruction starts then. You see, the instruction starts then. It does not apply to the past. Because what we do with it in the past is beat ourselves up about it and feel guilty and say, I'm not doing a good job as a caretaker, or not being compassionate enough or loving enough. So how to best detach and at the same time help my mother? Just be as open and empty as possible, and be as forgiving about yourself and your mother as possible. And I'm not saying 100% in these circumstances at all. Don't worry. Don't have to worry about 100% something. If you're getting angry at times, if you say, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm tired of this, she doesn't listen. Sometimes you get frustrated as well. That's completely fine. It's okay. It's okay. Start open and empty, but the instruction starts the moment you remember it. See? Not in the times where you're just like there's so much going on and the mind attack seems strong. There's no point then beating ourselves up about the past and saying I should have followed the instruction. Why am I not open enough? None of that. It's just like when it comes to you to be open and empty, let it come to you like this is the first time you heard. This is for everyone. Let it come to you like this is fresh and the first time you're hearing it. So it starts now. You have no baggage with it. You have no history with it. You have no progress with it. You're not saying I'm doing so well at it, or yesterday I was so good and today I'm so bad at it. None of that is important. It's like the game starts now. And that's true for any spiritual point. Any spiritual point. Just fresh, just now. All my love to both of you. And may Guruji's grace bless this situation fully to its most graceful outcome. Dear Father, does the unfolding of life depend on whether one operates out of intuition or from mental deduction? This is a trick question. It will have a trick answer. So, what will you do with the answer to this? Will you give it to your intuition or to the mind? Next one says, could you please throw some light on why the forgetfulness is so immersive here? Throw some light on why the immersiveness is so. Why the forgetfulness is so immersive here? Why is the forgetfulness so immersive here? Well, again, I have to give a non-true answer, but let's see if it helps to deconstruct the question. And maybe my saying that at the start may not always help the deconstruction, but I don't know how honest to be. But really, we can never determine these things. We can never determine these things. Consciousness is all there is. Therefore, we'll play with all flavors. In some flavors where forgetfulness is not so not so immersive, and in some expressions where consciousness seems like forgetfulness seems so rampant. It's okay. We can't judge ourselves based on that. We can't feel like there's something wrong or missing or the lack of devotion or something is happening because of that. In fact, we cannot feed the forgetfulness more by trying to understand more about the forgetfulness. Like many years ago, I told you that you cannot come to Manonasa by thinking about Manonasa. I don't know if, because of forgetfulness, if you remember this conversation, but it's the same thing. So if you dwell on the forgetfulness of the truth, then that does not aid the truthiness of it, it only helps the forgetfulness. So when you have a moment where you're open like this, don't delve on what is wrong. Dive into God, whose presence is apparent to you. And I know in my heart that in those moments, God's presence is apparent to you. Next one. Father, time and again, I've noticed that when the phenomenal world is going my way, I totally get attached to it, yes, and fully in the body-mind. Yes. And when the phenomenal world is chaotic and suffering arises, I'm reminded of spirituality. Yes. Is there a way to be detached even when the phenomenal world is all happy, happy, please guide me. This is the perennial thing. No? It's, in a way, it's part of the design. Even the sage Kabir has said, दुख में सिमरन सब करे सुख में करे ना कोई सुख में सिमरन जो करे तो दुख काहे को होए. So everybody remembers God when times are bad. Nobody remembers God when times are good. But if there are those who remember God when times are good, then times can never be bad. Which, by the way, he's never talking about an external circumstance. So what would be true remembrance at this point? It would be an understanding, a heart understanding that all is grace. So my imploration, whenever I catch any of you in satsang, because I don't know when life will start going quote unquote my way. So what we think my way, but actually opposed to us in that way, opposed to our reality, going more towards unreality. I don't know when that is going to happen. So that's why I keep feeding you the medicine of open and empty. Am I aware now? What is my reality? And showing you how to live headlessly. Showing you how to live headlessly. So use this opportunity not to again beat yourself up and try to understand why these things happen, but take a deep dive into your presence. Take a deep dive into God, and recognize who is aware even of that. That is the best gift you can give to the future one who may or may not get deluded. That's the best, not the answer. This deep dive is the best gift. Okay, then next one says, the one I said, where will the answer be received? That one says, the answer will probably be received in intuition and would also probably motivate one to move towards intuition. Full blessing, full motivation, full inspiration, full stick, full carrot. Everything that is here is to motivate you to go to your heart. Let's see if Madalena still wants to come.
Hey.
Hello. Again.
Hello.
Hi, the kids. Where's Mama?
Mom left because there's satsang with Guruji.
Yes.
Guruji is making an announcement, not satsang.
Good, good. How are you both? Good?
Well, very good. Yes, I know.
All our love. All of us here are sending our love, kisses, hugs to both of you. Everybody in this Zoom thing also.
Father, I also have a question.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes it feels like I'm happy, like on the inside, but sometimes my mother tells me that that's just the mind.
Sometimes who tells you, Mama?
Yeah.
Achha.
And I'm not, how do I check if it's the mind? Or should I trouble to check? Or
I'll get in trouble either way with this question. Okay. So you said that sometimes it just feels like I'm so happy on the inside. Is it when you're doing naughty things?
No, I'm not doing anything, I guess, when I'm happy.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes. And you just feel very open. You just feel very relaxed at that time. Is it how it is?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you tell Mama, then so tell her. What would you tell her? Show me. What? Like tell me how you would tell her.
Well, I just feel happy, and she sees me smiling, and I guess she tells me that that's the mind of being happy. And I kind of am. I feel like it's true, that happiness, but it's not I'm not the happiness, I'm the one who's still aware of the happiness. But my mom tells me that's the mind, and I don't know how to like check, or should I check, or should I don't know what to do. Should I?
Just at your age, you just relax, just chill out. Chill out. Don't worry. And then after a few years, if we need to do some of this, and you need to check whether it is the mind or some of this, I'm there. No? I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry. Just when you're happy, be happy. Don't get into any sort of mental thing about trying to understand, is this the mind or not. Just be happy. It's okay.
Thank you. And also when I feel kind of aware, I guess, and mom asked me if I'm aware now, it doesn't feel like I'm doing to be aware now. I'm just aware now.
Exactly. Fully. You, no doing, no effort is needed at all. It's very good. Very good.
So that's okay. Not to feel like I'm doing anything.
Yes. That, in fact, if it is effortful inside, then it is not the true insight. It has to be before the sound of the click. How much effort can you do before the click?
I don't really understand that question.
So if it is effortless, it's completely fine. Don't worry. Now you don't have to think about whether it is effortless or not. So my main pointing to you today, just relax. Have fun, play with your friends, play with Anna.
Thank you. Anna is very happy to hear your voice. Thank you.
Love you both.
Yes, Anna.
Let's go to Satyam.
Hello, Ananta-ji, Father.
Very good.
Can you hear my voice clear?
Yes. Very good.
I really don't have anything very strong to say out for now. The last time we talked about this panics according to the heart and the narrative, and your pointing was, if you stay empty and open, then I promise you that it will not have so much power, as I understood the way out.
Yeah.
Last 3 days has been something is saying it's very personal, but I want to put it out here. So because I feel it's very beautiful. The tears are of joy in a way. This Neem Karoli's Baba's presence has been grabbing me very strongly. I don't know. It's not a doing, but it's just happening that way. Yeah. Thank you.
That's very good. Very good.
And I think last year I was talking about Hanuman Chalisa, and you said, could you recite it? This wave is coming back, and as a kid, I had dreams about Hanumanji. As children in India, you go for prasad, and this very famous Hanumanji having the mountain in his hand and flying. That image came to me, and I don't know if that's... So this sense of seva is arising in my heart to go to India and open a bhandara. Something like this is happening to feed the people, and this is a wave. And right now, my attention is not going on the question like seer and who's watching, not aware. So I want to put this out. So if I'm putting out because there's a sense that I might not be going astray from the path, something like that.
You cannot stray from the path. Anyway, this is not straying. We have his photo right there anyway. But even if it was not here, then it doesn't mean that if the photo is here, it's some certification or something like that.
No.
So as long as you're in your heart and you're not allowing any sort of spiritual concepts or mind to get mixed in, thing, it's completely fine. It's very good.
Because there's a sense of watching his videos, and there's such a strong. I have no words for his presence. It's so loving, and of course, I can relate to the Vedanta, and I'm putting the fingers, the path, the seer. It's the same thing, but it's an aspect of this. I'm just putting out, if I'm seeing it rightly.
Yeah.
So
all the sages are pointing us to our heart. All the sages are pointing us to the no mind, to the unborn. You see, in different expressions, everyone's expression is different. So, but the end goal, if there is such a thing, is the same.
yes. So I also always think
You just have to be true to yourself, true to your heart, and recognize that if you're ever being mental, then don't fall for any arrogance saying I must be right or this is what it is, and some of that. You have to smell for yourself. You have to smell for yourself. And it's difficult because, it's like Guruji says, it's almost like having to smell your own breath and determine, you see, whether it is smelly or not. So that doesn't seem so easy, but you can smell. I feel like you've been in satsang long enough to be able to just notice when you're going into some like conceptual spiritual fantasification, or is it really being true to your heart? So you can get a sense of that in your heart, and anyway, life will guide you beautifully. There's nothing to worry.
Because it's like, I feel the same presence in your presence, is that, but there's something with certain beings which which we cannot explain through words. Why is it like that? But I'm putting it out because in your presence is the same heart and feeling. And this wave, and I talked to my mom, I said, I don't know why this is happening. This wave is coming. And then I was talking about that you had a time when you were reciting the Hanuman Chalisa. And it took a life on its own, as you said.
It's very good. It's very good. The presence cannot be experienced by the head. And when consciousness is playing as if the head is telling it meaningful and true and viable things, then even the presence seems to be not experienced actually, where it's always experienced, but it seems to get blurry. So if the presence is palpable and you're not being mental about it, that's all satsang. It doesn't matter which instrument or which form is making you that open and empty. You see, headless.
Because I was sensing that in his, like, as you look at his photos, and there was not the contemplation didn't happen, but just the tears were flowing. So there was a sense, am I doing something wrong here? That as I'm not contemplating now, the mind is not busy asking who is aware. And
one tip I'll give you is that the whole point of being devoted to a master is that it gives you something that you can replace in your narrative with the ego. We provisionally need a replacement in our narrative before we can drop it fully for some of us. So whatever expression, whatever master, it's all the same anyway. But the master should not be relevant because I am now feeling this for this master. I am now. So then, because then the I am the I is more relevant in that narrative.
Yeah.
See? So whatever form we are feeling devoted to, and even if we can't really decide a form or make a definite form out of it, in whichever way we are feeling the devotion, make that object of our devotion, replace yourself with that in your narrative. See, that is when the purpose is being served. Otherwise, it will be the same thing that that one is important because I like that one now, or this one is important because I like this one now. Find one that you can replace with in your narrative.
That's why I put it out
Yes.
here in order to see if there is a trick of the egoic identification in this. Of course, your point is like, can I stop being?
I can elaborate on that a little bit. So, the whole point of having a master, of course, the illustration is a little different in the story. It's talking about two beloveds, no? And you, of course, heard the story of Heer and Ranja, which are the very well-known story of love and true love and things. So there's a Sufi couplet which goes, Ranja Ranja karke Heer, ape Ranja hoye. You see? So this is what I mean by replacing the protagonist in the narrative. So the whole point of being devoted to God or Guru is that you are that devoted that you yourself become that. It is not that the Guru is important because it is that non-existent one's Guru. It is because all is the Guru of itself. So when the line dissolves, when all separation dissolves, and there's no notion of choice making or decision making or conceptual understanding, that is when we see that all of these bodies are just expressions, this Ananta body and other bodies are just expressions of the same Sadguru presence, which is your very heart. So as you're meeting that, allow that to take over. Don't let it be relevant because it is you experiencing that. These are subtle things. I don't know how to say them actually.
Yeah,
I hope you're getting a sense of what I'm saying.
Can feel what you say. For me, I'm using the word. If there's no other way to say it, say it.
Okay, say it without the for me. Say it without. Tell me something which is not about you.
It comes as you are not without me.
We can learn to live over there. So we can say, very simply, it doesn't have to be something exotic or spiritual something. You can just say, the thing with Neem Karoli Baba was that thousands of people would come to him and he would just have to reach out from under his blanket and the fruits would show up and he would be able to feed his whole.
Yeah, for example, yes. Yeah. You would produce jalebi standing in the middle of the pond.
And feeding everyone that came was his thing.
Feeding everyone who came, irrelevant of this background or her background, whatever. Thank you again and again, Mitaji.
So welcome. Okay. Let me go to Beatrice and see if her mic is working. It seems to be working today. I can hear the mic.
Namaste, Father. I want to expose something because I feel like when I go to work, I feel too much fear coming. So, like every day, I have to cross this fear to go to do my job. That is me. And when I dispose, I want to expose all the narrative, all the belief in the narrative, like, and what is happening is that I'm seeing all the time this narrative. So
You see what? See the last part again. You see what all the time.
I see all the time, like in the moment during all the day when this narrative comes,
Yes.
I see it, and this moment.
You see the narrative comes. You mean you see the thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I see, and also I get identified. Let's do it. Let's see.
You
Let's
see them,
say,
and by seeing them, you get identified. Is
yeah.
it possible to get identified just in the seeing of him, of the thoughts?
You know what?
Is it possible to get identified just using our attention?
I have to relieve.
Yes, yes. So stop that.
Yeah. Yes. So this is like this stuff is happening more and more.
Yes, so start now. Stop doing that.
I don't know if I am doing it right now.
Stop doing that right now. And without doing that, tell me what is happening.
without doing the believing, is that
Yes, exactly.
what is happening?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. As I am here.
Yeah. Exactly. Anything missing?
No. No.
That's it.
Just this one. No. I just want to expose all the narrative, to finish with all these things. I don't know.
Yes, but to expose sometimes, no? I see there's a trick also sometimes in when we say I want to expose. Because when we expose, we are sort of saying, could this be true? By the way, I just want to check with you whether it could be true. And of course, it can never be true. It is just mind stuff. So that's why I started asking this question, whether when we want to expose, it is because we are buying into the truth of it, or because we are not buying into the truth of it.
Because in the past, there is this buying in the truth, in the
The
thing.
words, yes.
Now it's happening or something, or it's happening that is.
Okay. So when you expose it, then I will take all the truth from it, yes? But you don't take it back from me then.
Okay.
Okay, so you can expose now. What seems true?
What seems true? Right now, I don't know what you mean.
What did you want to expose? You are doing it because it seems true, no?
The person. The entire person, the I thought, the belief,
Also,
I don't know. It's like I want that this finish.
Do you know that there is a prize? There is a prize for 10 years. There's a prize for anyone to show me the person. I will pay them $1,000. So you're going to expose the person. Finally, show me where is it? I want to see. I have never met a person yet. Please show me.
I don't know. I don't know.
But
I
you,
don't know.
you said you want to expose the person, no, fully. Where is it?
Yeah. Look, I
What?
don't know.
Where is it? Where is this person?
No, I don't know, Father. So I see that is thought.
Even sometimes what can happen is that like we may feel like I need to do this, I need to be rid of this, I need to become like this, all of this. But who's telling us all of this?
Yeah.
That I need to expose also. I'm not saying we can't expose. Satsang is a beautiful place where you can expose, but burn it. No, we keep exposing the same thing because then we are not really burning it. You see, then it is just a way to get some more acceptance of that which you want to expose. Expose means it's exposed in the sunlight, it catches fire and burns. You see, that's to expose. You see? So when we say I want to expose the person fully, gone person. Now,
I don't know, but I cannot say. Who is the one who is speaking?
this is consciousness can speak without the head. In the mind, the mind can say that only the mind can do speaking or working or any of these things, and yet the whole universe is operating without the mind. So who is that who's running the universe? Consciousness, God.
Yeah.
Can the non-existent frog sitting next to you jump around? Can the non-existent frog sitting next to you jump around?
Jump around.
Yeah, jump around the house. You know, the non-existent frog, the frog that never existed. How much can it jump in your house?
Never know.
Huh? In the same way, what can the person do?
It's just a thought.
It is as literal as that. It is as literal as that. Sometimes I feel like you're hearing this metaphorically. It's fully literal. There is no person that has ever existed. So when you say who is now not believing the thought, or who is speaking, or who is whatever, who is there? Only consciousness. I don't see it as a multiple choice question ever. Consciousness, the only part of the play is the consciousness with the mask on or consciousness without the mask on. If the mask is off, what does it take to take the mask off? Nothing, a click before the click.
It's already gone.
Gone. Yeah.
There is no mask. Never know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Vimal.
Namaste, Anantji.
Hey, namaste.
Really, I can't understand English fluently.
That's okay.
4 to 5 times I have been with this song.
Yes.
I would really like to thank you for your guidance. I have no questions, but I would like to thank you, Mujiji.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All my love, all my blessings. All is my Father's grace.
I have no questions.
Very. You're welcome here, and if the language ever becomes a problem, then you can put it in the chat. So maybe if there's a question that comes up in future satsangs, you can just put it in the chat that you want to say something, and we can speak for a short time in Hindi and see how it goes.
Okay.
If
I have no questions just now, but I really loved this meeting. And I have also heard Mujiji 3-4 times.
Yes.
And also I experienced the state without any thought.
Yes.
Yeah, body was doing its work and consciousness was doing its work.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Full love, full blessings. Very good. Okay, let's go to Jada.
Beg your pardon?
Now I was saying let's go to Jada.
Okay.
It's called Jada. Oh, thank you.
Hello, Father.
Welcome to you. I feel like Vimal, your English is very fluent actually. So you must not ever feel that it's not. From what I heard so far, that's very good. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you went back on mute. Okay.
Hi, Father.
No, my dear. Okay, did I mute everyone? Unmute everyone? No. Okay. My chat. All good?
Yeah, all good. I feel like a little bit drunk and overloaded, like my body on some level.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel a little bit tired actually. So that's why I wanted to meet with you. This is not the only reason. But yeah, all is good actually in a deep way. All is just good. They are not, nothing really touched me so deeply actually, whatever is happening, and especially the things which were bothering me a lot. Can you hear me, Father?
Yes. The things which were bothering you a lot.
Am I audible?
Yes, but am I audible?
Yeah, now yes.
So I
You
heard
just,
the things that were bothering you a lot.
yes, the things which were bothering me a lot, like, yeah, all my stuff. And it's so beautiful to see that they are not actually touching me deeply anymore. And I'm happy to see this actually. But still they have some, yeah.
It'll go. It's okay. It'll go. It's okay. Don't worry. As it's getting lighter and lighter is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah.
Very
good. I'm happy and yeah.
Very good.
like, I don't know. I feel to check with you actually if you feel to check, because
Yes.
if you have more questions, because
Give me a sense of what you want to check.
like it's a little funny, like awareness.
It's like you yourself don't believe that you have that trouble.
Huh?
You yourself are not in the belief that you have that trouble. It's just seeming very light and easy now for you. No?
What? Like everything?
Yeah, it seems so. Like earlier when you used to come, you used to say, I have this problem and I want to tell you, and you're not helping me, or you are helping me, whatever. Now it's just like, we can check if you feel, okay, let's check. It's okay. It's not. So I can see the lightness already. It's very good.
Yeah. I also see this lightness. Like,
But yeah, say the one thing. Let's hear.
there is no but, like it's like, okay, it's like, as you know, of course, like my whole attention was on my personal life, how this one is, and it now just I question, because I see people on satsang, they always bring the question of awareness and perceiving and this stuff,
Yeah.
and that is it's like I want to be like this, like I want to be on satsang. If this is the real satsang, it's like this is what I want to do. Not because there's not much. This personal thing just dropped, not fully, but somehow it cannot hold on to me anymore.
Yes.
From its roots. So if this is satsang to speak about this and this, I don't know really. That's why I'm bringing this.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. That's very good, actually. So let's see if we can frame this in some way. So what I'm hearing is that life seems much lighter. Some things poke from time to time, but they're not as heavy and difficult as they used to be. And it seems like it's fine. But most who come to satsang, they are usually talking about awareness and the absolute and consciousness, and we are always saying all of this stuff. But then, am I missing the main thing in satsang by not? No. As you're open like that and light, all that I'm pointing to is just there are many who come to satsang. Not many. There are few who come to satsang who never had questions about awareness and consciousness. And yet, without any effort to understand any of that, just because they surrendered, everything was fully apparent to them. Everything is fully apparent to them. So you don't have to pick up a new now struggle to say, okay, now I'm open and light. Now I have to now understand what are they talking about. And perceiving and being, and don't have to trouble yourself with any of that. It's just organically flowering in your openness. And one day you'll hear all these words and you'll say, this is very obvious. Is this what everybody's been talking about so long? You see, it seems so like, I hate to use the word again and again, but apparent. It is so apparent. I love to use it. It's all good. You're going very well.
Yeah, I know when I feel like this. And thank you so much.
So welcome. Okay, looks like Madalina's back.
Hello, Father.
Oh my dear.
Thank you.
You're really straddling the best of both worlds at the moment. Huh?
If I'm struggling in both worlds,
Straddling. You're straddling the best of both worlds.
I do, yes. India and Sahaja, you mean?
Yeah, you went and met Guruji. We heard full report when you were not there.
Yes, a brother from Sangha, Thomas, passed away a couple of hours ago. So we met with Guruji and he informed us about his transition, and we sat in silence for a bit. So I'll take this opportunity to
All of us.
Mm.
One in this full love, full blessings for this brother's continuing journey. He's guided by Guruji, so there is no worry, nothing to be concerned about.
So true. So true. We are so blessed. And one, I guess, one taking from the short meeting with Guruji was that both Thomas and his wife were very much in peace and in their seeing, and yeah, it was an invitation to contemplate over this ephemeral nature of the body and transition. So so be that we realize our true nature and give up the belief that we are the body, body, mind, the person, whatever construct we take ourselves to be.
Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I put my hand up earlier because I do want to leave. I probably.
When you watch the recording of what happened earlier, you have a lot of fun.
You guys had a lot of fun.
You will have a lot of fun when you watch the recording of the previous conversation I just had with your kids.
Yes, Kalin was very pleased with your answers. He told me, like, you did well, Father.
Well received with the kids.
Thank you for looking after them when I was absent. There is a lot of personal identity about the seeker and the person who's responsible and the doer that's coming up. And it takes a bit of time to...
So, I have refrained today. Have I refrained or have I said HDYK? HDYK.
HDYK.
Yeah, what is HDYK?
Forget about it.
Sort of.
In Tamil. Forget about it in Tamil.
In Tamil.
What?
Only repeated 100 times. 2 satsangs ago or last satsang?
No, last satsang was just peaceful. But I just gave it away to me 2 seconds, 30 seconds ago. This is why I stopped, because I was going to say I already did that, but I just want to make sure it's all.
So somebody who's got it can put it in the chat for Madalena.
Thank you, Father, for your grace. Someone put the right thing in the chat. How do you know?
Very good. Everybody's doing very well.
How do you know?
Do we feel that the mind collaborates with us on this spiritual journey to tell us what is wrong and what is happening? There's a lot of personal identity playing out. The mind is telling us so that we can fix it. Do we really feel it's like that? It's telling us there's a lot of personal identity so that we can actually look at it and fix it and expose it and surrender it. You see, the mind is that helpful. Is it like that?
It's not the mind, it's Guruji's pointing.
There's a lot of personal identity playing out. You say, I can see or I know or something. No, but you can't see and you don't know.
But your master tells you that you're either identified or you have resistances.
Yes. So
and you're not following the pointing.
Suppose the master is chopping you. That chop is meant to be taken in that very moment, not as homework. No? There's a lot of personal identity playing. Drop it. Finish. You can't make that pointing the chop as part of your personal identity now, which is what the ego wants to do. My master has told me there's a lot of personal identity playing. So what is that becoming a part of? Not personal identity.
You're very right, Father. And my mind became a bit obsessive compulsive about this self-realization.
How do you know?
Because I self-inquire even in my... Kalin.
Yeah.
Next time when you have a question, I'll talk over you to see how it feels. I'm self-inquiring even in sleep. There is this one is self-inquiring even in sleep.
In deep sleep, you're self-inquiring.
Not in deep sleep. I think my sleep is not deep enough. Something is going on all the time. And even in satsang, sometimes if a thought comes up.
Just answer the question, how do you know? I've asked you one question.
I observe it from the wrong place, I think. I observe it with an interest.
So this, for example, that I observe it from the wrong place. Where is this coming from? How do you know this?
I think
your observation is showing you, your perception is showing you, you're observing from the wrong place. It's showing you like that. Is it like that?
It's not like it's marked wrong.
Yes, it can't be. In pure perception, there's never anything marked wrong. Only in our mental categorization. So if we go to the seller of the trouble to get rid of trouble, how is that relationship going to work out?
It's not.
Yeah.
He's still selling and I'm still buying.
Yes, but because it sounds spiritual, it sounds attractive and it sounds spiritually helpful. The mind comes and says, I'm going to tell you what your problem is. You have some trouble in your sleep state and you have some trouble in pure perception also. So, I'm not the trouble. I'm your best friend. I'm telling you what's wrong. How can you want to get rid of me? Without me, how will you know what's wrong? This is the mind's voice, no?
I know.
So if you can spot it, you can drop it.
Deal.
Mhm. Allow the mind to get frustrated. It's okay. It'll say, but then there's nothing left to say. No one, all of that it'll do. Bear it. It's okay. Just go through it. Just, it's okay. It's not that. It's not that difficult. But if you keep taking its problems, the problems that it is proposing about you as if they are your real problems, then what you're saying is that my mind is actually helping me get rid of my mind, which it will not do. Otherwise, why will it tell you the truth about what your problems are? You see? So we go to the wrong instrument to tell us the truth. You see? And then we hope that the wrong instrument will help us on the journey towards getting rid of the wrong instrument. You see? It's like the tenant who's not paying rent. We're trying to throw him out of the house, but we are listening to the tenant only. How should we throw this tenant out? Where is he? Where is he hiding? And the tenant says he's actually gone visiting his mom, over there. So you go over there. You see, that's what it does. And we buy into that. We go chasing the tenant's mom. The tenant is sitting right there saying, go to the mom's house. That's where the problem is. It's not in the thought. It's in the sensation. It's not in the it's in the circumstances of life. So all of these are the mom. Fine. The tenant is the problem.
And the aunt and the uncle and grandparents.
It's fine. Everyone is fine. So where can we go for the truth? That is the ultimate question.
You repeat that. My internet is not so stable.
I was saying, where can we go for the truth? Go for true knowledge. We come to Satsang because Satsang is the company of the truth.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I have been speaking. You can't hear this?
I hear you with interruptions.
Okay, maybe with the video off it will be better. So keep it like this.
Yeah.
So I was just saying that really, where can we go to find the truth or some meaning? And then it becomes like in many situations in life, we come to Satsang to be in the company of the truth. That is the literal meaning of Satsang. So we want to come to Satsang to come and find the truth. Now in Satsang, if we come to Satsang and we devote all our time and energy to solving the apparent problems which the false is proposing that we have, then will that be Satsang? And then it can feel like, oh, but then There's nothing left to say. But that's not true. Because I want to hear all of you from your heart. I want to hear all of you from your heart. It's not true that you cannot speak without the mind. So this is like a explosion for the root itself. If you get off the treadmill of taking mind problems to be real and trying to solve them, and then taking the next problem and then trying to solve them, how long have we been on this treadmill? It is endless. We can go for forever like this. So the mind, even if it tells you you're perfect as you are, sometimes the mind plays that. You're fine, everything is fine. You see, then subtly will whisper, but just make sure you keep it this way. So don't fall for this cellar of trouble. So how do you know is my favorite question, and it's probably the most irritating question for the Sangha at the moment. But I remember there was a time where when I used to say the truth is so apparent to everyone, it used to be the most irritating thing. And now it seems to become easier. In the same way, how do you know? You'll start checking. Otherwise, the mind is just saying, this is your problem. This is what you're doing wrong. And then we're like, okay, how do I fix this? Where can we go for the truth?
The heart.
That's it. Is there a problem in the heart?
No.
So why leave? There's never a good enough reason to leave the heart for the head.
I was going to say I don't have a good enough reason.
Never. And please don't buy into any idea that, oh, but this thing, my relationship, my job, my whatever can only be done by the head. That heart is the intelligence of this entire universe. Everything can run from there.
I don't even have a job. I only have 2 children to raise. That's the only.
Yeah, that's quite a job, but yeah, good. Very good. Let me just quickly
Thank you.
others as well. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you, Father.
Okay, let's go to Punita.
Hello, namaste.
Namaste, my dear.
Thank you so much.
So welcome.
वो मुझे कुछ पूछना था, मतलब एक जो ख्याल है ना वो रिपीटेडली चालू रहता है, मतलब पहले से ये बहुत इम्प्रेशन अंदर रहता है ना आनंद भाई माँ और रमन महर्षि के लिए, तो जब भी सुनाई दे रहा है अच्छे से? हेलो,
मुझे सुनाई दे रहा है।
मतलब जब भी, हाँ जी, जब भी व्यवहार में होते हैं ना, मतलब डे टू डे लाइफ में, तो कभी किसी से द्वेष वाला व्यवहार हो जाता है, तो मतलब एक अंदर से चालू रहता है कि जैसे आनंदमयी माँ रमन महर्षि का कैसा था अनासक्ति और अपरिचिन्नता, तो वो तो हम में नहीं आ रही है, तो मतलब क्या फर्क आ रहा है? बट हाँ, ये मालूम रहता है कि ये विचार भी जो है, ये व्यवहार भी जो भी है, वो हो रहा है अपने आप, मतलब ये शुद्ध जो ज्ञान है, अवेयरनेस, प्योर अवेयरनेस, उसकी सतह पर वो स्फुर रहा है और पास हो रहा है, तो मतलब ये सब भी देखा जा रहा है, समझ में आ रहा है, लेकिन ये पर्सन टू प्रेजेंस, प्रेजेंट टू पर्सन जो स्विच ओवर होता है ना, उस टाइम पे ये होता है कि बहुत सी बार हम कुछ मतलब मान लो आधा घंटे के लिए, घंटे के लिए स्विच ओवर हो गया, तो उस टाइम पे फिर ये होता है कि ये ड्यूअलिटी आ जाती है, तो तभी द्वेष आ जाता है। तो वहां तो सब्जेक्ट और ऑब्जेक्ट जैसा कुछ होता नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी वो लग रहा है हमको ड्यूअलिटी जैसा। तो ये एकदम पता है अंदर से, जैसे ही कुछ टाइम निकल जाता है, फिर अंदर से एकदम वापस आता है कि ये मिक्स हो गया था, ये लग रहा था ऐसा, लेकिन वो खाली पास हो रहा है। मतलब चैतन्य की सतह पर आ रहा है, मैनिफेस्ट हो रहा है, पास हो रहा है ऐसा। पर फिर भी पता नहीं, बार बार यही आ रहा है कि भाई अभी इतना अवेयरनेस, प्योर अवेयरनेस नहीं आ रहा है कि अपरिचिन्नता मतलब में हम लोग जगे, ऐसा परिचिन्नता आ ही जाती है वापस। ज्ञानी में भी व्यवहार के टाइम पे उनको भी ये होता है, क्योंकि हाँ, ये हमें और उसमें इतना फर्क होता है कि भाई हमको ये रियल लगता है कि हम मिक्स हो गए हैं, ड्यूअलिटी भास रही है ऐसा, लेकिन उनको वो मतलब वो रियल नहीं लगता है। उनको लगता है कि ठीक अंतःकरण का है, वो कंप्लीट हो रहा है, बात खत्म। तो उनको अच्छे के लिए, राग के लिए भी कुछ नहीं अंदर हो रहा है, द्वेष के लिए भी कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, पास हो रहा है, और हम उसमें चिपक जाते हैं कभी कभी ऐसा। तो ये कैसे निकाले?
ठीक है, थैंक यू, बहुत अच्छा सवाल है आपका। तो अगर आप हर एक एक्सप्रेशन देखोगे ना, ये मास्टर्स का, सेजेस का, हर एक का एक्सप्रेशन अलग है ना। हर एक का, जैसे महाराज ने किसी को बोला तुम निकल जाओ, तुमसे नहीं होगा ये, है ना। तो उनका कोई नया कोई आके उनका बिहेवियर देखेगा तो बोलेगा ये कैसा, वो कैसे एनलाइटन है, इनका तो बिहेवियर इतना खराब है, इनको तो इतना गुस्सा आ रहा है ना। तो अपनी जो, जैसे ये बॉडी चल रही है, उसका जजमेंट आपका माइंड करेगा और आपको बोलेगा कि आपका बिहेवियर फ्रीडम की तरफ नहीं जा रहा।
एग्जैक्टली।
तो अगर आपका माइंड आपका साथी है स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी में, तो वो आपको सच बताएगा जिससे आप उस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व कर सकें। पर यहाँ तो आप माइंड से ही फ्री होना चाह रहे हैं ना, तो माइंड आपको सच नहीं बताएगा, वो तो आपको दूसरी दूसरी जगह भेज देगा ना कि चोर वहां नहीं है, चोर आपका बिहेवियर में है, चोर मैं नहीं हूं, है ना। तो मैं ये एग्जांपल लेता हूँ, जैसे पुलिस वाला चोर को पकड़ने वाला है, तो वो चोर क्या करता है, वो कुछ पत्थर वत्थर उठा के दूसरी तरफ फेंक देगा, वो वहां से आवाज आएगी, वो पुलिस वाला वहां चला जाएगा। तो अभी ये हो रहा है आपके साथ कि आप सोच रहे हो कि आपको अपने बिहेवियर में देख के ये तुलना कर लोगे आप आनंदमयी माँ से या रमन महर्षि से कि मेरा वैसे हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा। आपका माइंड,
मतलब एक माइंड कंपैरिजन चालू रखता है ऐसा।
माइंड आपको ट्रिक कर रहा है जिससे वो आप उसको ना देखो, वो कैसा कर रहा है, आप अपने बिहेवियर को स्टार्ट करो देखना, फिर वो कंपैरिजन करो, फिर जजमेंट करो अपना कि मेरा इतना हुआ है सिर्फ प्रोग्रेस, उनका वैसा होता होगा। ये सब माइंड में ही है ना।
हाँ, ये खेल तो माइंड का ही है।
बिल्कुल। तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि आप अपने एक्सटर्नल बिहेवियर को बिल्कुल बॉदर मत करो कुछ टाइम के लिए।
ओके।
कुछ बॉदर मत करो एक्सटर्नल बिहेवियर को, उसको बिल्कुल जज मत करो। बॉदर मत करो मतलब जज मत करो कि ये अच्छा है बुरा है। एक्सटर्नल बिहेवियर को आप अंदर से खुला रहो, बस अंदर से बिल्कुल ओपन। अब वो अंदर से ओपन में बाहर कैसे हो रहा है उसकी चिंता आप मत करो। आपके फैमिली वाले बोलेंगे आपके सत्संग का कोई फायदा नहीं है, देखो आपको कितना गुस्सा आ रहा है, कुछ बॉदर मत करो आप उसका। क्योंकि फैमिली का काम है ये सब बोलना। जब हम अपना माइंड यहाँ से नहीं सुनते तो उनके मुंह से सुन लेते हैं कई बार, तो आप उसका वो भी मत सुनो। जो भी फ्रेंड्स फैमिली जो भी बोल रहे हैं उनका भी मत सुनो। अपने एक्सटर्नल बिहेवियर को आप बस छोड़ दो, गुरु जी के हाथ में छोड़ दो, किसी भी मास्टर के जिसको भी आपको डिवोशन हो।
ओके।
ये एक्सटर्नल आपके प्रॉब्लम है, गुरु जी आप देखो, मैं इनवर्डली मैं एम्प्टी रहूंगी, इनवर्डली मैं ओपन।
ये समझ में आता है, लेकिन प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे होता है?
एक मिनट, तो एक मिनट। सो अगर आपका समझ से मतलब माइंड है तो समझ में मत आइए।
नहीं, वो वाला नहीं, मतलब जैसे मान लो कि हम मिक्स प्रेजेंस और पर्सन मतलब पर्सनालिटी में आ गए हम लोग, तो उस टाइम पे हो गया। और पर जितने टाइम मिक्स हुआ ना ये, फिर उसके बाद में ये टाइम चला गया, उसके बाद में तो आता है कि भाई ये हम नहीं है। तो ये एकदम अंदर से एकदम ठोस है कि भाई हम है नहीं है। फिर भी जो बिहेवियर हो जाता है ना, मिक्स हो जाता है, तब भी बहुत ट्रबल होता है।
कि इनसाइड बिल्कुल ठोस है, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है ना। पर जो आपका माइंड आपको थोड़ा घुमा रहा है ये सब बोल के, वो सब आप सुनना बंद कर दीजिए कि ये मिक्स हो जाता है, वो सब भी आपको माइंड ही बता रहा है ना। तो ये याद रखिए कि आपका माइंड कभी आपको ऐसा कुछ बताएगा। ये ठीक है, अब आ रही है आवाज? अब आ रही है आवाज?
हाँ अभी क्लियर आ रही है। हाँ।
तो आपका माइंड इस जर्नी में आपका साथी नहीं है, तो वो आपको क्यों सच बताएगा कि आपके साथ क्या हो रहा है?
जी।
है ना। तो अगर आप उसकी सुनेंगे, वो माइंड तो बोलेगा आपकी ये प्रॉब्लम है, ये मिक्सिंग हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है। तो तभी मैं पिछले वाले को भी ये पूछ रहा था कि हाउ डू यू नो, कि आपको कैसे पता है ये चीज, है ना। अगर आपका माइंड ही आपको बता रहा है, तो माइंड तो कभी ऐसा नहीं बताएगा जिससे उसका ही वास खत्म हो जाए ना घर में।
राइट।
तो वो तो वही बताएगा जिससे उसका वास चलता रहे हमेशा के लिए।
नहीं, तो यहाँ पर खाली ये समझना काफी है कि भाई ओके, हमने समझ लिया कि माइंड में हो रहा है और पास ऑन हो रहा है, ऐसे बस इतना समझना काफी है।
हाँ, जिससे जो भी आप समझ जाओ, जिससे आपको आगे समझ में जाने की जरूरत ना पड़े, वो काफी। अगर ये समझना काफी है कि मुझे समझ नहीं आएगा अपनी समझ में, पर अपने दिल में आएगा ना, वो अगर उतना है, तो मैं रिपीट करता हूँ। तो अगर जो भी समझ में आ सके, जिसके आगे हम समझ में और फिर ना जाएं, उतनी समझ काफी है। तो अगर ये समझ में आता है कि समझ में सच्चाई नहीं आ सकती, सिर्फ दिल में आ सकती है, तो उस समझ को लेकर हम चलें तो उतना भी काफी है। तो ऐसा एक समझ लेना है जिससे समझ का फुल स्टॉप हो जाए। नहीं तो वो समझ के चक्कर में
नहीं, पर ऐसा मतलब समझो आपको या जो भी ज्ञानी है उनको उनको भी ऐसा व्यवहार में होता है क्या कि मतलब ऐसा रहे कि शुद्ध ज्ञान के अलावा कुछ है ही नहीं। मतलब जो भी ऑब्जेक्ट्स भी दिख रहे हैं हमको, वो भी ज्ञान ही है, ठोस लेवल पे कुछ है ही नहीं ऐसा। तो वो अंदर से ये समझ में मतलब पक्का रहता है, लेकिन फिर भी व्यवहार में आते हैं तो ऐसा सबको होता है क्या?
जो आपका प्योर परसेप्शन है, प्योर परसेप्शन आप समझ गए। प्योर परसेप्शन का मतलब जो अनमिक्स्ड, जो ये दुनिया दिख रही है लेबल के बिना, दुनिया दिखती है, ये लेबल नहीं आता कि मैं हूँ, मैं आदमी हूँ, मैं औरत हूँ, ये सब लेबल साथ में नहीं आता, सिर्फ दिखता है ना। सो वो डिफरेंस हमारा सिर्फ आता है कि ये अलग है, ये मैं हूँ, ये वो तुम हो, है ना। ये तो लेबल मन से आते हैं, दिखने में नहीं आते। आपके देखने में ऐसा नहीं लगता कि मैं इस हाथ के अंदर हूँ और उस हाथ के अंदर नहीं हूँ, ऐसा कुछ डिफरेंस एक्चुअल देखने में आता नहीं है। तो ये जो सब ज्ञानी हैं, उनको सिर्फ जो दिख रहा है वो देखते हैं, उसको इंटरप्रेट नहीं करते ना, उनको लेबल नहीं लगाते कि ये है, ये मैं हूँ, ये तुम हो, तुम्हें ऐसा होना चाहिए, मुझे तुम्हें। अगर आप ये भी बोलोगे कि हम सब चीजों को देखें और कोई डिफरेंस नजर ना आए, वो भी सिर्फ वो माइंड का प्रोजेक्ट हो गया ना, क्योंकि आपको देखने में डिफरेंस नजर नहीं आ रहा है एक्चुअली। आप उसको जैसे इंटरप्रेट कर रहे हो मन में, उसमें डिफरेंस आता है सर, है ना। जैसे आपको कंप्यूटर स्क्रीन पे अभी वहां एक पुनीता का चेहरा हिलता हुआ देख रहा होगा और यहाँ एक अनंता का मुंह हिलता हुआ दिख रहा होगा। तो अगर माइंड को आप बीच में मत लाओ, तो बताओ आप कौन हो, मैं कौन, है ना। दोनों हेड अगर हिल रहे हैं, बताओ डिफरेंस क्या है। आप किस में हो, मैं किस में हूँ? नहीं बता सकते।
नहीं बता सकते। उसमें प्योर अवेयरनेस के लेवल पे जाए ना तो कुछ अलग है ही नहीं। प्योर अवेयरनेस के अलावा और कुछ है ही नहीं ऐसा।
प्योर अवेयरनेस के आगे प्योर परसेप्शन में भी डिफरेंस नहीं आता। डिफरेंस सिर्फ एक बार लेबलिंग, इंटरप्रिटेशन, जजमेंट स्टार्ट हुआ उसमें आएगा, है ना। तभी तो भगवान, आनंदमयी माँ, सब जो सेजेस थे वो भी लाइक भगवान को आपने देखा होगा न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ रहे हैं। आनंदमयी माँ सबकी तरफ बोले तुम ऐसा मत करो, तुम ऐसा करो, है ना। तो ये सब एक्सप्रेशन आउटवर्डली आ जाता है, पर प्योर परसेप्शन में कुछ डिफरेंस दिखता नहीं है। वो एक्सपीरियंस आपका भी सेम ही है। तो ऐसा कुछ एक्सपेक्ट मत करो कि हमारा परसेप्शन में कुछ चेंज हो जाएगा। हम तो परसेप्शन से मिल ही नहीं रहे फुली ना, हम तो आधा अपने सिर में बैठे हैं। तो पहले परसेप्शन के साथ फुली रहेंगे तब प्योर अवेयरनेस जाती थोड़ी है। अगर आप ओपन एंड एम्प्टी हो अभी सिर्फ प्योर परसेप्शन में, तो ये क्लियर है ना कि परसेप्शन के अलावा भी कुछ है। क्लियर है ना। तो वही तो अवेयरनेस है ना, प्योर अवेयरनेस। सो जब आप ओपन एंड एम्प्टी रहोगे तब आपको निर्गुण भी क्लियर है और जो सगुण है वो भी क्लियर है।
हाँ, मतलब ये ऐसा होता है कि जैसे प्योर अवेयरनेस कांस्टेंट है, उसमें कोई डिफरेंस नहीं आ रहा है। लेकिन जब प्योर अवेयरनेस से थोड़ा नीचे आते ना तो ही लफड़ा होता है। तभी लफड़ा होता है।
और नहीं आ ही नहीं सकते ना, वो सिर्फ मन बताता है कि आ गए हम या ये हो गया। तो जब हम मन की सुनते हैं तभी ऐसा लगता है जैसे वो हो गया हो। उसी को तो माया कहते हैं ना, कि इट सीम्स लाइक, ऐसा लगता है कि ऐसा हो गया हो, तो वो सीम्स लाइक ही तो माया है। तो वो हम माया के जाल में तभी पढ़ सकते हैं जब मन की सुने। ठीक है। तो अपने मन के पास मत जाइए ये सुनने के लिए कि मेरे को क्या ठीक करना है अभी, क्योंकि वो सच नहीं बताएगा आपको, उसे तो रहना है ना।
तो मतलब व्यवहार को व्यवहार के तौर पे चलने दे, अपने आप जो हो रहा है होने दे।
बिल्कुल।
और अपने को जो अंदर से क्लियर है हम उसके साथ में रहे, चाहे माइंड कुछ भी बता रहा है।
हाँ, बिल्कुल 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 यही बोल
तो
रहा
हमको डरने की जरूरत नहीं, माइंड जो भी बता रहा है।
हाँ बिल्कुल।
तो नमस्ते।
ठीक है, नमस्ते। Everyone seems to be frozen. कुछ आवाज नहीं। हाँ, thank you. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's go to Lori.
Hello, Father.
Is that a familiar voice?
Hello.
Hello. Say hi.
Lauri! ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? Bien. Ay, te quería verte, ya te...
Don't speak to each other on FaceTime or Zoom. They do. Not so much. Rarely.
Father, I have a question. Maybe I guess this is a very amateur question, but always
Amateur.
amateur.
Don't.
Intuition never comes in a voice form. I mean, always that that I'm all the time that I'm listening these voices, all the time is the mind. Intuition never comes in that way. Always is silent.
Okay, got it. I got your question. So you're saying, if I'm hearing a voice, does it always have to be the mind? Can that voice not be my intuition? That's the question. Yes. Okay. So let me check, and you just answer honestly. If it feels too difficult, then I can try and find some other way for you to confirm. But when I ask you if you are aware, when I ask you if you are aware, that answer is clear to you? Yes. So simple, no? Like that. So stay that way, and that is what I call empty. Stay empty like that. And then whatever guidance is coming to you, that is your intuition. It can be a voice, it can be just you start typing something, it could just be that your feet start moving somewhere, it could be that you're just sitting in the same place. It could be like, it is the intelligence of the self itself, so it can use any instrument to reveal itself. So you can trust that. Now, this is the fail-proof solution. When what you are as awareness is apparent to you, then you're being intuitive and not mental. So like that, if you're hearing a voice, but what you are is not seemingly shaken, then that's intuitive guidance. It's fine. Because you're hearing the voice of intuition when you come to satsang. So this voice which is using this mouth is also speaking words, isn't it? So you don't come to satsang to hear the mind, you come to hear the intuitive presence, isn't it? So of course it can use words, it can use every tool is available at its disposal. You see? And our nose, our smelling ability to smell the mind will become stronger and stronger. So then the mind will never be able to fool us. Right? So remember that the spiritual aspect of your mind is not intuition. Many can feel like...
Because that's very confusing to me sometimes, because it feels like it's spiritual and intuition, but then it's not, because it's also ego and it's also judging me.
Exactly. So another small tip is that if the voice seems a bit pushy, pushy like aggressive, and it wants you to want something, it wants you to have something, it's grasping at things, then that is the mind. You see? So what happens is the mind can also pose as if it is the guru. The mind can say, my child, just do like that. What you have to do, go and talk to that man. You see, it'll say all of these things. So I say, yeah, that is my intuition guided me, like that. It can feel like a very convenient intuition. But our smelling can become very much better. But the tip I gave you first, which is when what you really are is apparent to you, then you're being intuitive and not mental.
Okay.
So you can trust that voice, and I want to hear your report on how that goes.
Okay. Thank you, Father. Love you so much.
Okay, let's go to Ananda.
Morning, Father.
Morning.
Sorry that I just joined right now. I didn't realize time difference. Don't know why I raised my hand, but I just didn't want to miss the chance to speak to you.
Yeah.
At this moment, I have nothing to report.
It's okay like this also. Like it's okay like this also. Just wanting to say hello, just like that is completely fine. Why I'm saying that is many times over the years I've noticed that because someone just wanted to have this interaction, then they have to really think up some question that you don't have to do
Yes,
that.
I see that. I
It's
start
all-
having a conversation with you.
You don't have to. It's completely fine.
I just I listened to your satsang about how we will find God, and I was so in the heart. And when I heard you, everything became clear. I saw how much I've been in the head, listening, and wasn't following my heart. And I've been on a journey every morning. I would get up and say, okay, how do I get back to the self? And spend the day trying to find my way back to where I am. And I just went back to the simplicity of it and realized it's okay, like at this moment, if I don't know anything.
Yes, yes.
And just to keep bringing the attention back to my heart. And I realized when this first started happening to me, what was it? And it was just because of love. So if I just keep bringing that love back to myself and allowing myself to disappear in it, it reveals itself. And the only question that comes all the time is how to marinate in the beingness. And I kept watching you with Madam and seeing how the mind, the thoughts keep pulling me into a reality that doesn't exist. They make me believe thoughts that aren't real. And I don't know if it's right what I'm saying right now, but
Very good, very good. So any question like that? So how can I marinate in this more? You see, and if it is coming from, and you can smell now, and I've given you the tools to distinguish between mind and heart. So if it is coming from the head, know that the head does not want to be headless. The head does not want to be headless. So just let go of any such questions, even if they sound very spiritually useful, helpful, just forget about it. So if your head is saying how to marinate in it, just let it go. Forget about it.
something says, is it enough? Those questions always come, and then
I'll give you all a tip, which is important.
Okay.
Just because it comes up or it comes up often doesn't give it the validity that you should take it to be a helpful thing or a valid thing that you have to unravel. Just because the mind will keep playing that trick of repetition. It'll keep saying, okay, but how? Whatever the point is, it's trying to make. You see, it'll keep repeating it. And just by its coming up does not make it give it enough value that it must be then resolved. Where can we go to find the real problem that has to be solved? The mind will never propose that as its own solution. So it's hard to solve something. How to go, from where can I get a true report about what needs to be done?
Just stay aware, just stay in the heart.
That's it. That's it. That's the end of the merry-go-round. That's the end of it.
Someone beautifully said, what is your dog doing right now? And I look at that and it's doing nothing. It's not thinking, and just be with that and just go with the flow. Sometimes something happens, oh Father, which doesn't feel very good. It's a mixing, and then all of a sudden it's like as if a dream is pulling me in.
Okay, but how do you know that this mixing happens?
I notice it when there's a seeker comes in.
You notice the mixing? You notice two things getting mixed.
I notice if I close my eyes that it feels like I'm here, but my head is, I don't know, it's not a pleasant feeling when you close your eyes and that imagination comes in.
Okay, but the pleasantness or the unpleasantness, the goodness and the badness, all these opposites, are they inherent in the perception itself?
I don't know.
That's worth exploring. Because if we keep taking the mind judgments or the intellect judgments about whether something is pleasant, unpleasant, good for us, bad for us, what would be a better state, what is the worst state, then what would the objective of the mind be? To perpetuate itself, not to free you from itself. Just get this one point for everyone today. Don't trust the mind to be the helpful guide to freedom from the mind. Its intention is always only to perpetuate itself. So question the problem that you're trying to solve. What is telling you that this problem is true for you? Is it from the mind? Then the intent of the mind is only to perpetuate itself, not to rid itself from you or rid you from itself. Are we going too far with this stuff? Because to me it sounds like fairly obvious. Okay, so let's take a simple example. So if there is someone who wants to be your best friend, and it says, no, if you say hi to that one, then that one will try to be friendly with you, so don't say all of that. But you don't want this one to be your best friend. Okay? So are you going to listen to this one about what to do so that you're no longer best friends with them? That is just absurdity, no? You see what I'm saying? So if you listen to the mind's advice about what is the best way to be rid of the mind, that is not going to come from there. That's all I'm saying. You see?
Anything that I've been following everything that you say to do. Much more calmer. Don't feel like grasping.
Yes. That's it. That's open and empty, in fact. So when you are just, your attention is free to go wherever it wants and you are not grasping, that's open and empty. That's all that you need.
I can feel it a little bit right now because something wants to say, okay, what are you going to do now? and just nothing. Nothing. I want to also say thank you to Kaisha so much. She's always giving, and she's always pointing me back continuously when I'm in the head, and I thank her for that. Thank you, Father. Thank you.
To sing? Radha, you want to sing? Everybody's out of it. Yes.
Omkar Guruji, Omkar, Omkar Guruji, Omkar, Omkar Guruji, Omkar, Omkar Guruji, Omkar. Omkar Guruji, Omkar, Omkar Guruji, Omkar, Omkar Guruji, Omkar, Omkar Guruji, Omkar. Omkar Guruji, Omkar, Omkar Guruji, Omkar, Omkar Guruji, Omkar, Omkar Guruji, Omkar.
Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Srimad Baba ki jai. Guru Kripa ke.